These are the assembly instructions for my gumball machine. I'm going to start assembling the bowl that the gumballs sit in. I've already cut and scored my piece of acetate. I'm just removing the protective liner on both sides of my acetate. And now I'm just going to fold down on my score lines. I have two sets of score lines along the width of my piece. And then I have the score lines that are in between. For the top and the bottom sections, they are all going to get folded down the same way. There's a triangle on the side. I just want to fold on that triangle. There's a tab on the side. And then there's a score line at the top, and you want to fold that one towards you like so. So you're just going to do that for all 4 panels on the top and the bottom. So I have these little tabs at the top and the bottom, and I'm just going to put red line tape on every single one of those tabs. And I'm going to also put red line tape just on my tab at the side. All 8 of those little tabs at the top and the bottom, and the one on the side. So I've put the red line tape on all my tabs, and I've added the red line tape to the tabs at the side. I folded up my second piece and put red line tape all over it as well. So I'm just removing the liner on the tape on my tab at the side, and then I'm taking my other piece and joining it up. I want the cut line of my side to be right on that score line. Removing the liner on my red line tape from the other tab and joining them together. So now it doesn't matter if it's the top or the bottom. I'm just removing the liner on my red line tape and then making sure that that triangle in between is tucked underneath. I want the cut line of the panel on my left hand side to go right up to the score line on my tab. And I'm going to do that all the way around. Now that I've finished gluing one end together, I'm going to do the other end. I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm now making the cap that goes on top of the bowl for my gumball machine. I'm folding down on those score lines that form the octagon. And then I'm folding on all those little side triangles. And then I'm going to fold down on those straight score lines that are on each end. So next I'm grabbing my glue and putting a little bit of glue on one of those tiny triangles. I'm just bringing the side panel right up to the score line on that tiny triangle. And I'm going to do that for the entire perimeter. So now that I've folded all those sides, I'm just going to work on the shapes on the perimeter. So I'm just going to put glue on those flaps and turn them inwards. And then I'm pressing down just to spread that glue. I'm going to do that all the way around. So now that I've folded all those edges in, I have a lid for my box. I decided that I want to decorate the sides of my cap. I could have done this, or I should have done this while it was still flat, but it's not too late. I can still do it. I'm just applying a little bit of vinyl on the top. And then I have these little rectangles, which I'm going to apply to each side. Next, I'm working on the lower part of my gumball machine. So I've already folded one half. I'm going to fold the other half. I've just folded down on these 4 score lines and folded down on these 2. The horizontal score line at the top gets folded towards me. And then there's a score line on each side that forms a little triangle. And then these tabs on the one side. Now this is my front piece, so this is where my gumball is going to come out of. So I'm just going to pull that piece outwards. So next I'm going to put glue all along this tab. I'm going to take my second piece. So I'm just gluing the cut edge of this piece right on the score line. I want to make sure the score line at the top and the bottom are even. So for the base piece, just like for the cap, I'm going to apply some vinyl. I have the pieces that are cut just as an inset for these top parts, and I'm just applying all 8 of those. And then I have the rectangles for the bottom portion. They're all identical except this one, and it has the cutouts that match on this panel, so that you want to apply that one there. So these 2 pieces with these little cutouts on each side are for the mechanism that is going to make the gumball come out of the machine. So I have a smaller one with the smaller holes, and I have 2 sets of circular pieces that go with it. And then I have the larger piece, and it has 2 sets of circular pieces as well. So we're going to start with a smaller piece. I'm just putting glue on the tab on one end, and I'm bringing the other end over, and I want that cut edge just along the score line, like so. Next, I'm going to fold down on those little trapezoid shapes that are on both sides, so just along the score line that's there. Then I have these 2 pieces that are going to be the little boxes that the gumball will fall into. So I have 2 holes on my wheel. Your gumball falls in once, and you turn it around. Your gumball falls in again, and you get another gumball. So that's how this is going to work. So I have 2 boxes. I'm just folding down on all the score lines for this little box. So this is the bottom of my box. I'm going to put glue on the tab that's on the side here. And then I'm folding that other side over so that they meet. And then I'm putting glue on all 3 of these flaps from the bottom. And I'm just going to pop them inside my box. I'm going to go in there with my bone folder, and I'm going to spread all of that glue. I'm going to take one of these circles. Now again, these are the smaller of these sets of circles. And I'm just putting glue on the outer perimeter of one of the ones that has a hole in the center. I'm just going to lower it into that circular shape. I'm just pressing down. So I'm going to take one of the little boxes that I've created, and I'm going to slip it inside my circular shape, and then fold all those flaps back like so, putting a little bit of glue on the back of each one of those flaps and just gluing it down to the surface of my shape. So I've left the centers open so you can still put your fingers in there and get enough pressure to make sure that that glue really sticks. And then I'm going to grab my second box, and I'm going to do the same with it. Now I'm folding those tabs so on the outside, and I'm going to grab my other circle. I'm going to put glue on 3 tabs that are over one of the boxes. It doesn't matter which one. I'm placing my circle so it's right on the perimeter, and then I'm folding down on those 3 tabs, making sure they stick. Then I'm putting glue on the 3 tabs across, folding them down, just making sure they stick as well. And then I'm going to put glue on the rest of the tabs and fold them down. So next I'm going to put glue all along pieces that I've just glued down. So this is cut out of heavy cardstock. I would recommend craft board. I'm just gluing it on top like so, making sure the edges of my cutout piece are even with my circle. I'm going to do that on the other side as well. The choice of color really isn't important because nobody's ever going to see this piece. So I decided to go with green and white so you could see what I was doing. But honestly, you could use pretty much any 80-pound paper that you may have would do just great for this. So the holes on either side are to accommodate my craft dowel. Actually, this is not a craft dowel. It is a kebab stick, but it had the right diameter for me. Now this is 3/16 of an inch in diameter, and I really only need 4 inches of it. And I'm measuring 4 inches, and I am taking some scissors that I'm not fond of at all, and I'm scoring it as deeply as I can. I wouldn't use good scissors for this. If you have any kind of tools that can do a better job, I highly recommend that. Because the idea is to score this and then to snap it once you've scored. So now that I've cut my dowel, I have this little template piece which I've drawn. I'm just putting a line on my dowel to coincide with the lines that are on my template. Inserting my dowel into that little wheel that I've formed. And then I have these 2 pieces of chipboard. So I'm placing the first one so that you can see that marker. And then I'm placing the second one. If you notice, there's only a small amount of the dowel on the left-hand side and a larger amount on the right. All right, so I'm waiting for my glue gun to warm up. So in the meantime, I'm going to work on the other wheel that I have. Now this wheel is going to go around the perimeter of these smaller ones. I'm just putting glue all over the tab on the end of it. So from the score line to the edge of my tab, joining both ends together, making sure that the score lines are continuous on both sides. And then I'm going to fold down on all those little tooth-like shapes. I'm going to temporarily lift these out of the way. It's one of the larger circles with the large circular cutout. I'm just putting glue all around the perimeter, lowering the ring into my shape. I'm just going in there with my bone folder, and I'm just spreading all that glue. I'm going to assemble this piece ahead of time, and this is a little ramp for our candy to fall into and then roll down. So I'm just folding down on all the score lines. I'm just putting glue on the tab that's on one side. I want the cut edge of that piece to land exactly on the score line, like so. I'm just going in there with my bone folder, spreading that glue, and then I'm putting glue on that front flap, folding it over, and then I'm just sealing the back of my little box. I'm putting glue on both those pieces, bottom piece over. I'm putting glue on that bottom piece and bring the top piece down. So that creates my little ramp. Then I have a little barrier to prevent my gumball from rolling off either side or end. There are 2 score lines on it, so I'm just putting glue on the back panel, and I'm laying my piece flat, gluing the little guardrail down to the back part, and then I'm going to put glue on either side. Glue my little guardrail down. You want it flush with the bottom. I'm doing that on both sides. Now I'm going to go back to my little wheel. I'm just going to take a little bit of hot glue, and I'm going to put it all around my dowel, between the chipboard and my dowel. So I'm doing that on both sides. So when your glue has taken, I'm just moving the tabs out of the way on the larger shape, and I'm inserting the smaller shape inside. And then I'm going to take another one of those ring pieces. So this is my last one of the ring pieces. I'm going to put glue on those little tab pieces. I'm going to put my round in place, glue those tabs down. I'm going to continue gluing them around the whole perimeter. The camera wasn't filming, but I put glue on the 2 outer rings, these circular pieces with the small holes. I've put them on top of each side just to secure everything together. So I have the long piece of my dowel on the right hand side and the short piece of my dowel on the left hand side, and then I've marked off the halfway point of this opening. This mark is at the very pinnacle of this piece. Every stage I'm going to keep spinning this, making sure, not to mention it's fun, but I'm going to keep spinning it because I want to make sure that it's spinning properly. So I'm going to put glue all over. I've cut these out of heavyweight cardstock, but craftboard would probably be ideal. You just want to slip it onto your dowel. You'll make sure that those markings are even. I'm just putting glue all over that other round, and then I'm going to insert the dowel. I've got the feet folded up underneath, and this is going to help me make sure that everything is nice and level. So next I'm going to put another chipboard round. This is just to keep it from being pulled out. I want to make sure that little box is in the center of my opening, and I don't want this too tight against the edge, but tight enough so that it doesn't get pulled out. And then I'm going to put glue all around that dowel. I have 3 of these pieces for the bottom, and this one is a little bit smaller and it has score lines on it. Now the score lines are going to help you place everything so that your little box is centered and the gumball falls exactly where you want it to fall. I'm going to install my little ramp. So you could just glue this down, but I'm going to use foam tape on the bottom, and I'm taking the liner off my foam tape. I'm grabbing this piece so the little bump out is on my right hand side, and I can clearly see a rectangle here. I'm just going to place my little box on that rectangle. Then I'm going to put glue on those 4 feet. Notice I have them folded inwards, and I'm placing those feet so that not only are they on the line here, but they're on the line on the sides too. So I'm just making sure that the front is right on the score line and that the side hits right at that side score line. And my piece has a little bit of movement to it, which I don't like. So I have a little brace piece that will hopefully help. So I'm putting a little bit of glue from the score line to the end. I'm just gluing it to the pinnacle of that curved piece. And then I'm going to put the glue on the other end, and I'm going to glue it so that it's right at the edge of my platform, the red platform piece. So now I'm working on the walls of my gumball machine, and I'm putting glue on those little triangles and those little tabs. The cut line of this shape is right against the score line of the tab, and the cut line of this piece is right against the score line of that tab. I'm going to do that for 7 of the sides. I'm going to leave the last one. I decided I want to add vinyl to that top piece as well. When I was adding the other pieces, this is when would be the perfect time to do it while it's still flat, but that's okay. I'm just going to add them now. So this piece is kind of functions like a funnel for my gumball pieces. I was going to narrow down the opening so that they don't all fall all at once. So all of these trapeze shapes are folded down in a V pattern, and then these tabs on the outside I'm going to fold downwards like so. I'm going to put glue on this tab, and I'm just going to glue those together like so. I'm just putting glue on one of those flaps, and I'm just placing it so that it's right, those 2 score lines are matching. So this piece has to be glued in like so. I'm just putting glue on each one of those tabs. I'm gluing the tab in right below the score line. All of those tabs are folded backwards and just glued in right below that first score line. I'm going all the way around doing that with all of those tabs. As I'm rounding the last one, just going to do the triangle in the tab as well. We'll have that seam on the side open. So I had 3 pieces of chipboard that I cut in this shape, and I just used some metallic acrylic paint. I covered my chipboard with the paint, let it dry thoroughly, and then I glued 3 layers together with some Beacon 3-in-1, put them underneath something heavy so that they would not warp. And I also made sure that my dowel still fits, because once you start painting things, it starts getting a little tighter. I'm going to decorate the front now. So I have these little circles. They look like page protectors, and I'm just layering up a few of them. These are just spacers. The dowel still fits nicely within the hole. I have the plate for the front. You want to make sure you put it in the right direction. If you put it in this direction, it covers the hole at the bottom slightly. So you want to make sure the holes are stacked up on top of one another. The panel ends right at that top score line. So my panel goes past those folds. So I'm going to put double-sided tape on the actual wall instead. And then I have this decorative piece that's going to go on top of it. I'm trying to keep this at the very top. And then I have the pieces that go on top of, so I'm just putting glue, another decorative layer. It's just an inset. I have a little circle that goes in the center, like so. So I have my plain octagon, and it is just a little bit bigger than the platform for my mechanism. Put glue all over the bottom of my mechanism platform. I'm placing my piece so that it has an even border all the way around. You want to make sure that your gumball drop is still centered over your funnel. I built this piece in to stabilize my mechanism, but it doesn't seem to be doing the job. So I've cut these pieces. So there's 4 score lines, and I'm folding down on them. I'm just putting glue the score line to the end on one end. I'm gluing it to the other end so that it forms a little cube. And I'm putting glue on one of the panels. The open part is up against the leg, like so. I'm going to put that on the other side as well. I'm just putting glue on the very last panel and then folding it over to make a cube. And then I'm putting glue on the bottom. The open side of it is going to be right up against the leg of my mechanism, like so. And that's definitely improved the stability. So now I want to thread my dowel through this hole, but before I do that, I just want to make sure that everything fits. So that's my handle, my spacer. So I've left my seam open so that it'll be a little bit easier to thread my dowel through the hole. Just positioning my dowel so that it's right at that hole, and I'm just going to poke it through. I want these flaps to be folded outwards like so. My dowel is pushed through. I have this little orb shaped piece. I specifically want it to go through too, so I'm just pulling it through the hole. The one on the top is the one that's from the platform from my mechanism, and the second one is the one that I just pulled down from this cutout on my box. Dry fitting everything and making sure that that hole is right underneath of my little cardboard funnel. I'm just putting those spacers in, and then I'm going to take my little handle piece and I'm putting glue in the hole of my handle piece, holding my mechanism steady while I thread the handle. I'm looking into the hole right now where the gumball is going to fall, and making sure that my handle is horizontal. It means that you know that when it's in the horizontal position, it will be receiving candy. So I'm just putting glue all along that tab on the side, and finally closing up my bottom piece. So I'm just putting glue on all the tabs on the bottom, and I'm just placing my bottom piece just like so. And then I'm reaching for the lid. All right, so this is my gumball machine. Now I just have to fill it full of gumballs and see if it works.